Hey, good evening, Maria, back with another video. It's 8:10 p.m. I am dog tired, but not tired enough to actually lay down and get some sleep. So how have I been doing? I would like to know how you guys have been doing, but I don't expect anybody to answer that, right? I'm making this video mostly to relieve myself of the stress and whatever that I go through every day. My actual stress level when I think about everyday tasks and things that I do, I don't have that kind of stuff. Like, my biggest issue is trauma. Like, I'm somebody who's recovering from years of psychological trauma. And so I make these videos, like I said before, a million times, as a form of therapy. And I've mentioned before that when you are a targeted individual, you have to be very careful about who you trust with things that you speak about, because many people are very biased in their view of you, and they are not going to fully support you because they are pretty much in connection with the people, your perpetrators. Okay. And so, I have been thinking a lot this week. I've been in a better mood. That doesn't mean that I don't fall into the depression. It doesn't mean that I don't have flashbacks. It doesn't mean any of that. I do also want to reiterate that when a person deals with trauma, some people uh, who are around that person, because that person is constantly dwelling on it. And I would like to, what I'm trying to reiterate is that this person is not doing it because they want to. Okay, this person, it literally is something that it's like beyond their control. Thoughts surface. You wake up, in the middle of the night, and this it's in your head, it's in your mind. Also, when you are in a somebody who was isolated for a very long period of time, which they did that to me, right? I was isolated for quite a long period of time, in toxic work environments that where I was set up to work alongside of their flying monkeys, which I will go into that terminology at some other time. When you're working around, or you're being around the people that they brainwash into hating you and then treating you like shit, you are basically isolated because you can just feel that you don't want to talk to these people, so you're kind of off to yourself and you're doing whatever. So for a few years after I left that fucked up farmer's place, this is pretty much what I had to deal with. So I was pretty much by myself for a very long period of time. So the only thing, all my positive memories were just like literally dwindling from my mind. My present wasn't anything that I wanted to dwell on, and I was not sure about my future. So basically, your issues of gang stalking is going to linger in your head. All you're going to think about is the trauma. Okay, so I have a lot of psychological issues that are going on inside of me, and like I said, you have to develop some sort of strength. You have to find some sort of coping mechanism, because it is very severe. Okay, so I would not be wrong if I was to give myself that diagnosis, and I really don't give a flying fuck what the medical industry says, because I don't really trust any of their opinions at this point. I never have. Okay, but if I was to say I have post traumatic stress disorder, I don't think that I would be wrong. Okay, because if you're dealing with these sort of symptoms and it's beyond your control, okay, then something is definitely wrong with me. So this is very healing. Doesn't heal me 100%. I don't ever expect to be fully healed. I just come on here when I feel like I want to talk, and I do want to talk right now. Okay. But like I said, you have to you can only talk to the right people. Okay. So today I was thinking about, I think what bothers me so much, I mean, there's so many things about this that bothers me, is the nerve. Okay. Because, like, um, when I have never talked about my past, to people in my present life. Okay. Of course, I don't really have anyone in my present life because they got sucked up in the gang stalking, and I refuse to have anything to do with somebody who even supported even just a little bit, because this was so fucking beyond evil that I couldn't even I couldn't consider even wanting to have anything to do with somebody who would participate in something like this. Okay, but this is my perspective. Okay, when I got together with my son's father when I was really young, I was like 18 or 19. Okay, and he was like my first boyfriend or whatever. And I think when you are young, people make mistakes. Okay, you date people that you're not really compatible with, and I've talked about how many women um, have this unrealistic expectation about what love is. Okay, and like I said, our surroundings and our views are shaped and molded by and reinforced by things like television, things like music. Oh my gosh, the music back then when I was growing up, I mean, if you listen to the lyrics, you would think, why would somebody write something so beautiful? Why are these so emotional, so beautiful? It's such a world of color. Love is great, love is wonderful, but love is exactly it. It makes money. Okay, that's one of the reasons why there's so many goddamn love songs. It's a great marketing scheme. Okay, and that's what it is. I'm not saying love doesn't exist, but it's not on that level. It never was, okay? But anyway, so you grow up with these unrealistic expectations, and then you're young and you end up with someone who doesn't necessarily give you all the value that you deserve, okay? And there's a lot of misunderstandings, because I know, not just me either, like I know there's a lot of compromises that go on in relationships. Like, for example, you're like this Indian food lover, right? But you go on a date and this guy loves Mexican food. You like it too, but it's not your favorite, okay? But you say, oh, I like Mexican food just as much as you do, so you can keep the whole thing working. You do a lot of things that you ordinarily wouldn't do. And then you end up realizing throughout the course of time that there's no compatibility. Okay? And unfortunately, and I don't really think it's unfortunate, because I don't regret having my son. I don't. I know it's not conventional, but you know what? I don't. That's another video I want to make. Don't expect me to be conventional, okay? And it's going to be good, okay? And it's going to drop. And a lot of people are going to be like, their mouths are going to be dropped wide open when I talk about some of these things, because I guess it could be considered controversial, okay? I am not a heathen in any way, and I'm not somebody who does not respect social convention. I'm just saying is sometimes people go off the beaten path and you just have to roll with the punches, okay? And so that's a video for another day. But I will say that when I realized that I was going to have a child, I realized I was just another statistic, another person who had, who was a girl in trouble. And I just pulled myself together. And to me, I felt as though the situation was a motivating factor for myself, because really, I didn't really feel as though I had any sense of direction. That was not my fault. Okay, I had a mother who was very old-fashioned. The only sort of life that she prepared me for was to be somebody's wife. You know what I mean? And that was her generation. So this is what. But see, the problem with it is that women my age, when I was growing up, their mothers were already like, I don't know, they were like hippie-ish type women. They were in a different generation than my mother. So there were a lot of the women were far more liberated than my mother. My mother came from the old school, so she was completely backwards. So this is the only sort of life that I even that she was even trying to like encourage me to go into. So it didn't fit for the modern age, I guess. You know what I mean? So anyway, long story short, I've believed that my son was a blessing in disguise, because I realized that I had more to me, and I felt responsible for things in my life. And it wasn't always a smooth road. It was a very bumpy ride, but like I said, I had no guidance, no nothing. So I had to figure a lot of things out on my own. But one thing I didn't ever do is I never took my son's father to court to get child support or anything like that. I do remember mentioning, it's like, well, are you going to pay child support? But his attitude was no, he wasn't. So I was like, okay, you know what? I really started getting very strong, and it was a very slow process, but I started getting really strong. I'm going to take care of my kid, and that's what I did. Okay, and like I said, it wasn't always easy, but I did it. You know what I mean? And I raised my son. And I probably could have gave him a much better life, if these people weren't fucking around with my shit, coming into my workplace, causing problems, getting their little like peons and their fucking spies and shit like that. I would have had a better life. And I know that, because I believe in myself. You know what I mean? And I would have been able to negotiate and do things better. And I really do think I could have given my son more. And I could have had more stability in my life. And this is something that I think about all the time. And so at this point, I was telling myself yesterday, because I do converse in my own mind. I'm not crazy, but it's a way of clarifying certain things, okay? And sometimes by hearing yourself talk about it out loud, it reinforces, it makes it stick in your mind that, there really is no point in the whole shoulda, coulda, woulda type thing scenarios. Like, I could have done this, and I would have done this, and I could have, whatever. Okay, what's done is done. Okay, but what angers me so much is the reduction of the quality of life and the opportunities in my life that I could have taken if it wasn't for the immaturity, selfishness, and I'm just going to come out and say it, evil behavior of other people. Now, I want to get to the point where I make videos that have good content, like really good content, not just me talking, okay? And there are some people where what I'm saying resonates with them, and they're like, hey, I can identify with that. And I had a few people leave comments on my channel. I am in a very cramped spot. I still haven't moved. I'll talk about my apartment search in a little bit too, because I'm getting really tired of this shit. But at the same time, I'm exhausted for looking at an apartment. It's just so crazy. But anyway, but I do want to make better videos. But one thing that I feel it would be good to talk about is more like focus not just to the targeted individual community, but also people who have dealt with narcissistic abuse. I will say that if you're a targeted individual, you are somebody who has experienced abuse from a narcissistic person. And so I think that and I can't say that there are some people out there who put out content that talk about narcissistic behavior. I watched a video. She's an East Indian woman, okay? And she is wonderful, and with which she talks about other people's experiences of narcissism, okay? And she talks about, some issues that I tend to deal with. Like, how do you deal with not getting revenge on a narcissist? Now, believe me, I don't sit up nights, wanting revenge. I don't think about that. I really don't. And in a lot of ways, I should. I mean, like, seriously, but I don't want to get into anything like that. What I mourn more than anything is the loss of time that I had on my life. Like, I think about the years that went by in my life that could have been positive, and I think about, you can't give me those things back. And at the time, while I was going through all this suffering, all this depression, all of this other stuff, these people just wanted more. They were never satisfied enough for ruining my life, for destroying and plowing over things that were rightfully mine, and so this is what I go through every day. Like, how could somebody be so fucking evil? That's what goes through my mind on a daily basis. And it hurts for someone to have so little regard for your life that they were willing to put you in a genocide program. Okay, and regardless of what you were saying, and regardless of what you're doing, and the facts that you were pointing out to them, they wanted to intensify their hate campaign against you. That is a terrifying situation to be in. And this is something that, when I talk about it, it's very important that I talk about it, because, like I said, it was very much like somebody putting a gun to my head and basically trying to kill me. You know what I mean? And that's what traumatizes me so much. And the very fact that somebody thought it was within their jurisdiction to choose what I wanted to do in life, who I was going to marry, what I was going to wear, what kind of activities I'm going to have, what kind of friends I'm going to have. And it was too much. It was too much, And so, yeah, I want to talk more about narcissistic abuse. And of course, I'm going to talk about the occult. And I really do want to find more energy. I have found myself in the last few days picking up some of the little hobbies that I used to do, because I can see that there's some improvement there, but it's very difficult, it's not an easy transition, but I can't say that I'm ever going to get there 100%. I don't know that. Because like there's times where I'm just sitting there and then it just comes to my mind, because I don't have any new memories. I'm not making any new memories. I'm not making any new what do you call it? Experiences. Because, I mean, I love going to work, and I love going to work. I do. I love my job. And I like keeping busy at work. But, like, as far as my personal life, I'm not making any new experiences. And part of the reason is because I feel like I can't trust people. You know what I mean? And like I'm still looking for an apartment, and I always feel like, well, what if I'm gonna encounter one of their fucking flying monkeys? I don't want to deal, because dealing with that is extremely traumatizing. Somebody fucking with your shit and then playing games with you or whatever. And I know that, like, when you call an apartment complex or whatever, some places just don't follow up because that's just how fucking shitty customer service is. I mean, people, there are some companies that are built where they feel as though they don't have to cater to or please a certain, what do you call it, customer base or potential customer base, because they feel like, hey, we're housing, everyone needs housing, so we're going to fill our spots regardless. Okay, so they don't care about thrashing their reputation. They do have a point to a certain degree, but on the other hand, it's like, their management is not really up to par, in my opinion. So I still think it sucks, and it's still something that people should talk about. I personally can't stand companies that don't make an effort to reach out, respond to calls and whatever. But anyway, I I realized every day how I suffered for something that I didn't deserve. So anyway, back to the whole issue of when I got together with my son's father. Young women or young people getting in relationships and stuff like that was many years ago. Many years ago. And as I got older, I realized how incompatible we were. And I think that some people thought that I was still, I don't tell my blood relations. I don't talk about my views with them. I'm an adult now. And I think they might have assumed that I was still kind of leaning towards the Jehovah's Witness belief system. Or maybe they thought that since I had a child with this man, Bruce, that they thought that it just was right and proper that I should marry this person, or he should be a part of my life or whatever. And the law says no. If I choose not to, that's my choice. I never legally married Bruce, and I never gave my son Bruce's name. Now, some people, like I said, when you talk about convention and all these other issues, marriage and all this other stuff, and that's fine. People want to live their life that way. That's great. But I don't particularly feel as though I need to live within those guidelines or those boundaries. That's not something that, maybe it would have been years and years and years ago had I met the right person. I doubt it, but I would have somehow or another eventually became dissatisfied with all that. Okay, and I will follow up with another video about that myself. No, I don't regret not being married. I don't regret not marrying Bruce. We're completely different people. Now, we might have some similarities. Like, I know I mentioned before that I was a huge Moody Blues fan when I was in high school, and I think that was one of the things that bonded us together, because we both liked the Moody Blues. But that's not enough to live forever and ever together. You know what I mean? And so. And I respect the fact that we're not the same. And for years after we broke up, I knew that my son had a little high and by relationship with his father. I knew that he contacted him. They contacted each other and maybe had phone conversations, stuff like that. I never thought much of it. I never hated Bruce at the time. I do now. But I never felt like, I want him back, or I hope his marriage fails because I want him, or I never thought anything of that. It was like, out of sight, out of mind, whatever type thing. I literally got brought into something that I didn't deserve to get brought into. And then I think his mom, I want to talk a little bit about his mother for a second. Now, see, I never realized that she could be so evil. I never realized she was such a racist bitch. I never realized that. I know she said a lot of insensitive things when I was around her. A lot of thoughts. She's extremely opinionated. Even when I was, even back then, she was extremely opinionated. And, that's really well and good that you have your opinions or whatever. But don't tell me how to live my life. That's one thing that will end a friendship or whatever. But she meant to be a racist bitch when she did this, okay? But like, just in my regular life and who I choose to be around, I got to be around people who have an open mind. And if we don't have an open mind, that's fine. We don't have to be around each other. But this is what I choose. This is what I need in order to survive. You know what I mean? I don't want people telling me what I'm supposed to wear, what I'm supposed to do for hobbies, what I'm supposed to like, that kind of stuff I'm not into. And I sure as hell don't appreciate people forcing their shit on me. And, I mentioned before about the Jehovah's Witness thing. You're a bad example of a Jehovah's Witness. And I'm not saying like I have like, I do have a little bit of respect for Jehovah's Witnesses. Actually, I would say a little bit more than a little. I do have a lot of respect for them, only because, I know that they deal with a lot of persecution, the real strong ones do. And I know people scoff at them and laugh at them because they don't celebrate Christmas. They always come off kind of like, oh, they're kind of a killjoy because we're trying to celebrate, a Christmas or a birthday or whatever, and they're the odd birds out there. They don't want to do that. But if you really study Scripture, if you really understand the history of these pagan religions, you'll understand why their point of view. Okay, and it's nothing to scoff at. That's part of religious conviction. If you feel uncomfortable with something, then you have a moral responsibility to God and to yourself should not adhere to it. Okay, and only an idiot, an asshole, and a fucktard would laugh at somebody or belittle somebody for acknowledging that. You should never make anybody feel bad because they don't want to celebrate Christmas or they don't want to do those sort of things. That's their choice, and that shows a great strength of character and devotion to their God. And it's very ignorant to scoff and laugh at somebody for something like that. That just goes to show you how very little they know about history, how very little they know about the establishments of religion or customs, traditions, whatever. Because yes, I will admit, those things are paganized. They're extremely pagan. But then again, so is each day of the week. Basically, everything that we do here on Earth is based off of paganism. That's a story for another time, okay? Which I will be covering that on my next channel, okay? But for right now, I'm here talking about my pains, my woes, my sorrows, But that's, like I said, that's a story for another day. But, but what happened to me? I'm just like so shocked about all of it, like the hypocrisy of these people. I don't believe that my son's father is the epitome of what a good Jehovah's. I don't even believe he was baptized. Okay, whatever. But have you ever seen it from this perspective? Okay, like I know I was like vilified for many years, and this was played out in the behavior of these people. Okay, I was vilified, and this not just me. Okay, a lot of women are vilified if they end up getting pregnant at a young age, and it takes two to tango. Really, it does. It takes two to tango, but they will never vilify the man. Now, see, I never asked Bruce for shit. I never asked his mom for shit. I took the responsibility and said, I'm going to raise my son on my own. I'm going to take care of him. Now, I never asked them to set me up in jobs. And if that was their way of giving me child support, which is really kind of lame, really, to be honest with you, especially since you're harassing me and bashing me and causing enemies and causing me all problems and telling me how to live my life and all this other stuff. There is no way you can tell me that what you did was righteous, just, fair, or in any way. I would really like to hear from you, but you never tell me this. What did you think that you were doing for my son? Now, I never asked you for anything for my son. I never asked you to take care of my son, okay? But I would like to know, what made you think that you, number one, had the right to tell me what to do? What made you think that you had the right to take so much from me, especially when I'm raising his biological son and you ain't doing shit for me and all you're doing is causing grief and sorrow? And there's really fucking no reason for you to be doing that. You know what I mean? It was a fucking hate crime, okay? And every day I live with this issue of dealing with the hate crime. And so my intuition has told me that that his family was involved in it. I believe his little sister was involved in it. It's like, wow, I've never seen such contempt for another human being. You basically launched a hate campaign against somebody. And then the arrogance of Terry Collins, if that even is her real name, I don't know anymore. I don't know. Don't care. Whatever. I wish this would have went to court. I wish it would have. You know what I mean? And then what bothers me so much too about it is the dishonesty of these people. Like, I was calling out names. I was calling out so many names, and I was really willing to just throw people's name in the mud. And each person that I called out and threw out and desecrated their names or whatever, made them look bad or whatever, they got exactly what they deserve. But what really pisses me off about this issue is I didn't at the time think for 1 minute that these people were behind it. But they had no problem with letting other people take the main blame for what these people, what they were responsible for. You're a coward, is what you are. You're a fucking coward. Okay, now I sat there and cursed that fucking farmer, to kingdom come. Like I said, he completely deserves it. All right. But you, while I was cursing the farmer, while I was throwing everyone under the bus, and like I said, I have no regrets from doing it because that's what they get for treating someone like this. Okay. But while I was sitting here talking and pointing these people out and telling them what assholes they were, you were sitting there comfortable in your home and letting them take the blame. Letting them all by themselves take the blame, take the shame, take the heat for what was going on. And it was bad. But you did nothing to take responsibility for your hate crime. Okay, now I am fucking disgusted because all these years I thought, it didn't work out. I was a young kid. We weren't compatible, but I never thought, and yeah, they're a little bit racist, okay? That's not surprising from white people, okay? But it is what it is, all right? And like I said, I don't hate white people, but white people do have their little ways about them. But you are what you are, and whatever, that's fine, whatever. And I left you alone. I didn't think about you, whatever. I wished you any harm. Okay, and you come out here, unexpected, raise this fucking hate crime against me, right? I'm shocked. You know what I mean? I'm dealing with like major trauma, and then I'm dealing with the fact that, you went so far. This is what really, you went so far to confuse the mind of my son. Now, I will never talk to my son about this, but I do want him to understand, you don't treat women this way. This is the worst thing you could ever do to another human being. I don't want him thinking that your way of life is a good way of living, because I don't believe that it is. Now, you might think that only Jehovah's Witnesses are good people, and that's fine. If he chooses to be that religion in later on in his life, that's his choice. Okay. But I have the right to establish my rules, my guidelines, my beliefs. As he's a grown man, he can follow and do whatever he wants to. That's his choice. But if he was a minor at this point, okay, I believe in following your heart's desire, whatever he wants to do, as long as he's not breaking the law or doing anything. This is what I choose. He is my son, legally. Okay, and if at the time when he was a minor, if I would have said, stay the fuck away from my kid, you would have to stay away from my kid. Because legally you have no fucking association with my son. He does not have, you're not on the birth certificate. You and I were never legally married. Okay? That's it. So then the more I think about this, and see, this is why I can't punch you in the face. I can't kill you. I would love to see you hauled off to jail. You know what I mean? I would love to see somebody blow your goddamn brains out. I'm not fucking kidding when I say that. I'm not. And I know it's, that's terrible. How can you, but look what I had to deal with. I think about how old my son is, and I'm like, for all these fucking years, I fucking struggled, fell, got back up, all over and over and again, while these people were fucking thinking this shit was funny. You're sick. Okay? You're very sick. I also wanted to talk about how this particular, maybe she's a psychologist or whatever, this narcissistic expert, okay? And like I said, in the past years, I have read about narcissism, but I never really, thought that deeply about it. Because, I knew that, I know a few narcissistic people, but now it hits home, okay? Your family was basically trying to force you into a certain lifestyle. People that you don't really know, have a connection to, we're basically trying to manipulate your employment, manipulate who you are, change your entire life, force you into these sort of things. And so I started really revisiting the whole topic of narcissism, okay, and looking at it closer, and then getting perspectives from people who counsel other people. Because like I said, I dare not step into any sort of so-called fucking facility or healthcare or mental health care facility, because these people are just as fucking warped as you are. And I would like to say, anybody who fucking followed these people in this community, who you're probably as twisted and morally corrupt as they are. That's the only thing I can tell you, because I would like to know. Tell me why would you think that I would deserve to be a victim of a hate crime, other than me having black skin? You know what I mean? Why does this Terry White bitch think that she has the right to tell me what I'm supposed to do with my life? She doesn't. You know what I mean? From another perspective, why I'm bringing this up is that I was no different than any other teenage girl who got involved with somebody that I was not compatible with, and I moved on. Okay, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know Bruce's wife. I know that her name is Sarah. Like I said, I don't know if she spells it with Sara or Sarah. I don't know if she's blonde, redhead, brunette, whatever. But I don't, you dragging me in the mud, or you're trying to like make me suffer for some bullshit that I have nothing to do with. I suffered for something I had nothing to do with. And if you are responsible for me not being able to find an apartment, maybe it's just the way things are nowadays. Because I remember back in the day, you can find an apartment just like within a day. Like the search is not that difficult. But now it's just like, I don't know if am I going to deal with your fucked hard people. I mean, I don't know. I don't know anymore. But I will say, stay the fuck out of my life. Please stay the fuck out of my life. Okay, like, you had your fun. You had your racist Ku Klux Klan fun. Leave me the fuck alone. Because that's exactly what it is, okay? And I don't appreciate it, I wish I could have sued. I mean, I really do. That's fucking Steve Murray deserves to fucking be sued. And now I'm starting to think about this whole thing. It's like, yeah, it makes sense now. It totally makes sense. Yeah. And I hope that this should serve as a lesson to people. This is one of the reasons why this whole family dynamic thing mixing in with work is a bad idea. A very bad idea. It destroys the lives of women. And it could cause forced marriages and like, I'm not married, okay? But in this situation, like, they were hoping that I don't know, maybe they deceived people, because I don't have any I don't believe that Bruce was ever, he and I were ever going to get married, or that was really his intention. But a lot of people use these excuses so that they could get the sympathy and the support of like employers and other people to help them manipulate the career choices of women. This is one of their biggest fucking angles, and it seems to do well. And like I said, why it doesn't do well is because the sentimental part of a person. They're like, oh, that's so sweet. And then if she works here, she'll make good money, and they can get married, they can be together again. That's so sweet. A lot of people get sucked into that. Okay, that's one of their ploys, and it's a good one. It works. I mean, it really does work. Okay, but you have to consider all the things that happened during the course of this, and the trauma that I went through. And I went through a lot of trauma, and it was a hate crime, okay? And like I said, this went on for many, many years, okay? Many years. And I'm dealing with it. And I will also like to say, and reiterate again, that my trauma is not coming from a feeling of being rejected from these people. Because would you care if Hitler didn't like you? The only reason why you'd care if Hitler didn't like you is you were afraid that you were going to have to deal with his wrath, right? Like if you were like somebody who was around somebody who committed hate crimes, you're like, man, I hope you don't really care if they like you, but if they're fixated on you and they don't like you, then they're probably going to want to cause you some harm, right? That's my issue. You know what I mean? I don't deserve to be, dumped on, my life being controlled, somebody forcing me into certain lifestyles. I certainly don't want your kid. I don't want to fucking deal with your shit at all. I don't want your religion. You've really set a bad example of what it is to be a Jehovah's Witness, by the way. You know what I mean? And I don't know how strict Jehovah's Witnesses are now. I know they change a lot of their rules. I remember back in the day, like, Jehovah's Witnesses were really strict. I mean, you could get disfellowship for a lot of things. I knew 2 girls who saw Ghostbusters when we were back in, like, I don't know, junior high or high school or something, and they got reprimanded for doing that. I remember Michael Jackson, when he did his Thriller video, I believe he was disfellowshipped for that. So, and I know that Jehovah's Witnesses are not supposed to involve themselves with worldly affairs. And the idea of somebody trying to cheat somebody or manipulate somebody out of their career because you personally wanted to climb up a social ladder and be a part of a worldly system, and that was never my intent. I just want to do work that I find appealing to me. You know what I mean? But still, that whole idea of being that sort of worldly competitiveness, cutthroat type of behavior is something that Jehovah's Witnesses frown upon because it's not scriptural. And the only thing that it is scriptural in the sense that the Bible does talk about it and it warns against that sort of behavior. So I don't understand your angle unless, of course, your anger and your jealousy just kind of made you go blind and you just couldn't focus on anything. You forgot yourself and just went fucking stir crazy. That's what I'm going to assume. You know. But I don't like people telling me how to live my life. And it's not, and if you think it's an act of a rebellion, that's only your white arrogance that's making you feel that way. Okay, I have every right to be who I am. And yeah, you know, I do, this is just not, I'm done talking and addressing those weirdos. I'm just basically expressing myself, you know, and I am very proud of my spiritual life. My spiritual life is everything to me. And I do believe in spending hours by myself and getting insight. And if it wasn't for those voices, if it wasn't for those messages, if it wasn't for my senses, I would be fucked. Because I would never know what was going on around me, how I can protect myself. You know what I mean? I believe my gift is divine. You know what I mean? Now, I know that Jehovah's Witnesses are going to have a problem with that. Okay? I have a problem with Jehovah's Witnesses that commit hate crimes. You know what I mean? So everyone's got the right to disagree. And the issue is that, you know, we might disagree. Okay? But we live in the United States where we have religious freedoms. You know what I mean? And like I said, even the Church of Satan, and I'm not a Satanist, okay? But even something that dark, okay? If you were to go to court, you would win because we have those rights. Whatever we were into. Okay, we can choose whatever religion we want to be in, or no religion at all. And I don't really get involved with organized religion, you know, and that's my choice, you know. But I'm a very peaceful person. Like I said, I am an extremely peaceful person, and I've tried to live a good life, and I feel very angry about, you know, what was left for me to think about for the rest of my life. Like I don't, and I need to. I need to start creating new memories, okay? But like I said, I don't want to encounter your people. You know what I mean? I don't want to deal with another one of those warped, and yeah, you're a warped flying monkey. If you're going to participate in a hate crime, I don't want to see your fucking racist fucking, like I said, your flying monkeys. Because that's the only reason why you could justify or explain why you did what you did. You know what I mean? I don't want to have anything to do with that. Or anybody who would side with something that warped. Like, why would somebody even think that your view is right? You know what I mean? I suffered for something that it was a fucking hate crime that you had no right to launch against me. And for anybody who would side with you is fucking crazy. In my opinion. That's not even my opinion. It's a fucking fact is what it is, you know? So anyway. Okay, so I've been on here long enough, and I am very tired today. But I do. I mean, like, I'm the kind of person, I have to feel fulfilled. And working is one thing that fulfills me. Like, you know, earlier this evening, I was kind of frustrated because I put these things on myself. I have these little goals and stuff, and I was like really mumbling, and I was whining to myself. But this is my thing. Like, I have these little challenges in my brain, and I have to meet them. But because it gives me something to live for. And speaking of giving something to live for, I was also thinking, you know, these are uncertain times. And I mean, I really do encourage people to live their life to the fullest. Like a few weeks ago, I was in my closet, and I kept thinking, oh, I'm sure those bitches are going to be mad, you know, because I want to wear this scarf because it was really bright and colorful. So, you know, I'm going to wear this scarf. I had that scarf in my closet for about 10 years. And it's been hanging there for about 10 years. Not the same closet, mind you. But it was just one of those things. It was like an accessory that I had for many, many years. And I was always putting it on the back burner. I kept thinking, you know, I'm just really not going to wear that. I'll find some other time. 10 years has literally gone by. And I'm like, I think I'm going to wear that today. And the reason why I kept thinking, so much is going on right now that I want to make every day, something important to me. Because you never know. And after going through somebody trying to take away things that were very precious to me, and basically try to hollow me out to the point of where I seriously would have, I really do believe blowing my goddamn brains out was the better option. Okay. I realize that we live in a world where self pleasure should be of the utmost importance because we live in a very hellish type of society. And the only thing that we can do is take control of our lives to the best of our ability. So I encourage people to make the best use of their time right now. Like I said, we have no idea what's going on right now. And I will say, after losing my mom, and I am basically over her death. I mean, I'm still kind of sad, but it's kind of sad when I have this conflict because at the same time, even though I have decent memories of my mother, I also understand that what she did and what she participated in was extremely abusive to me. So there's a lot of conflict there too. That's I need therapy for that right there. Because I'm fucking just devastated. Okay? But what my mom's death did like wake me up to is like my own mortality. I'm like, damn. Of course, mind you, she was an old woman and I'm getting up there too. But I look out in the world and people are literally dying like just dropping off like flies, and I'm like, you know what? I really want to make the best of my years of my life. And I was saying that even in my 40s, even before all this bullshit in the last few years has been going on. I was saying that in my 40s, and guess what these people did? They decided to come in my life and start dumping on my shit, fucking my shit over, throwing my fucking career up in the air, and then fucking acting as if they had some sort of fucking authority over me. I fucking hate every single last one of you. Okay? You already took a good chunk of my life. And like I said, I fucking hate you. And I will say that to the day I die, and I will never feel any remorse for saying it. I have every fucking right to hate you. And I do struggle with this issue. I don't like feeling that way towards my own mother, but there's parts of me that's just like, man, what was you fucking thinking? Trying to link me with these fucking idiots. What is so great about a bunch of racist people? Why would you want me to fucking be around these people? What's wrong with you? And then it's like I go back down to the fact that my mother was a very ignorant woman. Very ignorant. Like I said, she thinks just because people are nice to you, they give you gifts or they do things for you, that they're nice people. And it's deeper than that. You know what I mean? It was very frustrating. I find dealing with people very frustrating because I psychoanalyze, you know what I mean? I understand about human nature. I'm also psychic, and I have all these issues, and I tend to think about things that most people don't think about. And when people tell me, oh yeah, so-and-so, they're a nice person, I'm like, fuck no, they're not. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm tired. It's very frustrating. When you are an intelligent person, especially if you're an intelligent black person, you are basically living in hell already, because people have a different perspective than you do, and you're just like, fuck. People do things that irritate the hell out of you, and you're just like, well, I can't take this anymore. I just kill people. Seriously though. But yeah, it can drive you crazy. It can. And the so-called morals that people think that they have, they really don't have any at all. Like, I really do question people's moral standards, and most people, like, if Terry Collins thought, or I don't know if that's her last name, if she thought that this was a moral acceptable thing to do, she's warped and she's twisted. And I'm not even going to bother psychoanalyzing people at this point. It's just, here's the deal. The deal is that, Maria is gaining her life back, slowly but surely, okay? And Maria sets standards for herself. And I want to be around strong people. I want to be around people who are confident, who love themselves. And why it's so important to be with somebody who loves himself, I'll tell you what, I'd rather have an arrogant friend than have somebody who is like weak and constantly lacking in self-esteem, because those are the kind of people that'll drag you down all the time. Somebody who loves themselves, who might be a little bit cocky because they like themselves so much, they're a relief to be around. I'll tell you why. They're focused on their own life, okay? and they're not trying to take a shit on yours. Okay, and I'm not saying that I think you should be around people who are conceited or that you should be conceited. It's just that I'm looking for certain people who are confident in themselves, so they don't have to fucking dump on me. I'm raising my fucking standards, and I have every right to. So anyway, I think I said enough. I'm going to end this therapy session, and I hope all TIs have a wonderful evening. Take care. Good night.